Hi, this is Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. I'm here at Webit in Sofia, Bulgaria, and joining me right now I have Svilen Rangelov. He is the co-founder of DRONAMICS, and they have developed a new kind of drone that's going to reshape the supply chain and logistics in some developing countries. And the thing that's really cool about it is the size and the scale of it. It's able to carry 800 pounds a distance from Chicago to Los Angeles. So how many kilometers is that?
In kilometers, that's 2,500 kilometers.
2,500 kilometers. Okay, so tell me about this drone that you've developed. Tell me about the design.
The design looks a lot like an airplane, except that we've been unburdened by the constraint to have a human pilot on board. So we had to completely start from scratch, and doing this allowed us to achieve a lot of savings on the operational side from all the aerodynamics and structures improvements that we made.
Okay, so they're more affordable, obviously, than that. And the other thing that I think is really interesting, so you've been talking about utilizing this in terms of like with pharmaceutical companies, helping with like drug delivery in some of these developing nations. So talk to me a little bit about the market need there that you found.
That's right. So our original goal was how do we make air cargo affordable in emerging markets, and obviously the biggest needs there are in the healthcare sector. We do that by matching the capacity. The payload, 800 pounds is as much as you can fit in a small cargo van. So when it comes to pharma, shipments could be even smaller than that. But by being able to maintain the cold chain within the drone, we're able to ensure a speedy delivery of cargo, which is much cheaper and much safer than going on ground in some of these locations.
What's the issue with going over the ground?
Depending on the country and depending on the region, there could be, sometimes there's flooding because of weather. Maybe we're talking about transport over islands, or just governments are unable to build the infrastructure that the economies need. So and then there's security issues or checkpoints that need to be crossed. All these kinds of things that slow the shipment down. So we solve that by hopping over it at large distances.
I think it's interesting. We're seeing more and more use cases of drones being implemented into healthcare, and so I'm curious to know, like, where do you see the future of this technology in the industry, in our industry?
Well, I think it is the future because. In our operational model, you still have humans, but they don't travel with the actual aircraft because boxes of drugs, they don't need a human chaperone with them on board. So I definitely think this is the future because the cost savings are there, because the time savings are there, and I think the whole sector will move into that direction. I think what's interesting here is that emerging markets tend to be more open to this than the developed world, but also because the need is greater.
Okay. Is there any other reason why you think they're more open?
Well, also the airspace is less crowded, and the lack of available infrastructure and the distances. A lot of people in Europe tend to underestimate how large, just territorially, for example, the whole continent of Africa is, and the distances, the vast territories that need to be crossed on a daily basis for shipments.
So talk to me a little bit about your business now. So you are a startup. You're based here, right?
That's right. I studied in the US, my brother in the Netherlands. Half the team studied or worked abroad, but we chose to be in Bulgaria because in this initial phase of R&D, it was very important for us to keep costs low. And we have some investment. We've been testing a small-scale prototype. It's a 12-foot wingspan drone that we've successfully controlled, even by satellite, that we are now very confident in the aerodynamics and the structures of the aircraft, that we're building a full-scale model by the end of next year.
What's the full-scale model going to be like? What's the wingspan?
The wingspan is going to be about 50 feet, 50.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's, like I said, it's going to be able to carry 800 pounds at a distance of 1,500 miles.
And you have some really impressive partnerships that you've already developed. So talk to me a little bit about who you're partnered with and what that means.
Yeah. So earlier this year, we became IATA, IATA's first strategic partner for drones worldwide.
What is IATA for those who may not know?
IATA is the International Air Transport Association. It's the global industry association of airlines worldwide. So we've known IATA for quite some time. They value our leadership in the field, and this relationship is going to help us have a seat at the table when standards and regulations are being put in place in the future. So we're working with. You can't just build a drone. That's what a lot of people misunderstand. You can't just build a drone. You need to figure out how to fit in the whole ecosystem in the existing structures, and so that's why it's very helpful to form partnerships like this.
That's so exciting. I love the idea of disrupting the logistics of drug delivery. I think that is just really cool. And I'm sure there are a lot of other ways that your technology could be implemented in terms of disaster relief and things like that when people really need care and need things shipped to them in a different way. So thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to hear about your solution. One last question for you. I do want to know, okay, so I don't get to talk very often to startups that are located here in Bulgaria. So tell me about the climate here. Are you finding it easy to find investment? Are you looking abroad? Or like, what's the ecosystem like here?
Our investors come not only from Bulgaria. We've chosen our development to be here for the time being. The ecosystem being small, it helps us reach people much quicker. But I think that one of our biggest investors is a former co-founder who exited the company for $250 million to a US company. So the ecosystem is definitely growing, and it's great to be in Bulgaria.
Wonderful. Well, it's great for me to be in Bulgaria too. Thank you so much for talking to me. I'm Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health here at Webit. Thanks so much for joining us.